You loved him on TV, laughed at every stumble, every nervous twitch, but the truth about Don Knotts' life? Nobody knew. Until now. Don Knotts. The name brings to mind nervous stammers, bug-eyed expressions, and a laugh that could light up a room. He was Barney Fife, the bumbling deputy on the Andy Griffith Show, who made America laugh week after week. 5 Emmy wins, countless smiles, but behind that laughter was a man quietly wrestling with fear, illness, and profound loneliness. His 71-year-old daughter, Karen Knotts, has now spoken out, revealing the private pain her father carried, the truths hidden behind decades of smiles. And what she shares isn't meant to tarnish his memory, it's to complete it. Want to support our channel? Join the Echo Insider. Just hover over the Echo Insider icon, click and watch new videos before anyone else. Don Knotts. Just saying his name brings back memories of nervous stammers, those wild, bulging eyes, and a laugh that could stop you mid-thought and make your whole day brighter. He was Barney Fife, the bumbling, over-the-top deputy on the Andy Griffith Show who somehow turned every misstep into comedy gold. 5 Emmy wins, millions of fans, a household name. But here's the truth most people don't know. Behind that lovable, jittery exterior was a man quietly battling fear, loneliness, and illness that no applause could fix. The smiles, the laughter, the jokes, they were armor. And for decades, the world only saw the armor. His daughter, Karen Knotts, now 71, has finally broken her silence. She's revealing the life behind the laughs, the private struggles her father endured in silence. What she shares is shocking, not scandalous, but deeply human. It's the story of a man whose comedy saved him, even while his own life was quietly unraveling. And the truth, it's not what you expect, because the boy who made a nation laugh was haunted long before he ever stepped onto a stage. Jesse Donald Knotts was born on July 21st, 1924 in Morgantown, West Virginia, the youngest of 4 boys. On the surface, a normal family, but the reality was anything but. His father struggled with serious personal challenges, his mother was 40 when he was born, and stability was almost a stranger in their household. Don's 3 older brothers weren't companions. They were distant, each living in their own world. The only bright spot seemed to be his brother Sid, a natural joker who could make even the darkest days bearable. But that light was snuffed out too soon. Sid died suddenly from an asthma attack. Imagine losing the one person you admired most as a child. That grief left a shadow over Don that never fully disappeared. Left to navigate a confusing, often frightening world, young Don found a lifeline in imagination. He created a dummy named Danny, a friend, a companion, and eventually a stage partner. Together, they performed routines that let him escape the chaos of home life, if only for a few minutes. At school, he was charming enough to be elected class president, but inside, he felt like an outsider. Every laugh he drew, every friend he made couldn't quiet the anxiety he carried. His daughter Karen later reflected that the nervous, twitchy energy audiences loved so much wasn't an act, it was real. Comedy became both his shield and his weapon, a way to turn fear into connection, to turn the pain that haunted him into something the world could enjoy. Even as a child, Don had discovered a powerful truth. Humor wasn't just entertainment, it was survival. And the boy from Morgantown was about to turn that survival skill into a legendary career, one laugh at a time. After high school, Don Knotts had one dream: to make it in show business. But when he first landed in New York, reality hit him like a brick wall. He was awkward, jittery, and completely out of place among the city's bright lights and confident performers. Auditions rejected him. Roles slipped through his fingers. And for a young man with a fragile sense of self, each no felt like confirmation. Maybe he didn't belong. Crushed, he almost gave up until the world handed him an unexpected detour. In 1943, with the world at war, Don enlisted in the United States Army. But this wasn't the battlefield he imagined. Instead, he was assigned to the 6,817th Special Services Battalion, a unit created to entertain soldiers stationed in the Pacific. For the first time, Don's nervous energy wasn't a liability, it was an asset. On stage, performing for troops who were exhausted, scared, and homesick, he discovered something remarkable. His awkward mannerisms, stammers, and bulging eyes didn't make people laugh despite him. They made them connect with him. He wasn't just performing comedy, he was reflecting their fears, their insecurities, and turning them into something they could laugh at, if only for a moment. Traveling from island to island with the variety show Stars and Gripes, Don honed a craft few understood, transforming real-life fear into comedy. By the end of the war, he returned decorated with medals: the World War II Victory Medal, the Philippine Liberation Medal, and 4 Bronze Service Stars. But more importantly, he returned with a purpose. He knew he had something unique, a gift for turning vulnerability into laughter, and an instinct for making people feel seen, even in the darkest times. After the war, Don returned to West Virginia University to finish his education, earning a degree in education with a minor in speech. But the stage was calling him. On campus, he performed constantly, using Danny the Dummy and his natural nervous charm to captivate audiences. It was here, in the midst of lectures and late-night performances, that he met Catherine Metz, the minister's daughter who would become his first wife. In 1949, armed with only $100 and a head full of dreams, Don and Catherine moved to New York City. The city was enormous, intimidating, and brutally competitive, but Don had something no one could take away: experience, resilience, and the drive to succeed. Radio gigs, small TV roles, and minor performances kept him afloat, but the big break remained elusive. Then, slowly, the pieces began to fall into place. Steve Allen noticed his jittery charm and cast him in sketches on The Steve Allen Show in 1956. Don's nervous, high-strung persona, once a weakness, became his signature. Audiences laughed not just at what he did, but at who he was. A man whose very presence radiated authenticity and vulnerability. It was during this time that he reconnected with Andy Griffith on Broadway, playing a bumbling corporal. The chemistry between the two was electric. Griffith's calm, grounded presence paired with Don's frantic energy created a dynamic that audiences would never forget, and planted the seed for what would become one of television's most iconic partnerships. By now, Don had discovered something life-changing. The very traits that had once made him feel like an outsider, the awkwardness, the nerves, the stammering, were exactly what would make him unforgettable. He had turned insecurity into art, pain into performance, and the seeds of a legendary career were finally taking root. Everything changed for Don Knotts in 1960. After years of struggling to find his place, he suggested a small idea to Andy Griffith, a sidekick, a deputy. It seemed almost casual, almost joking, but that joke would turn into television history. Barney Fife was born, the bumbling, jittery, high-strung deputy who could trip over his own shadow, yet somehow steal every scene he was in. From the very first episode, it was magical. Don's twitchy mannerisms, nervous stammer, and wide-eyed expressions weren't just funny, they were unforgettable. People didn't just laugh at Barney Fife, they felt him. They connected to the anxiety, the eagerness, the desperation behind the comedy. It was a rare gift, transforming human vulnerability into pure entertainment. In less than 5 years, Don Knotts had won 5 Emmy Awards. He became a household name. Millions laughed at his antics. Yet behind the screen, the life he returned to was far from glamorous. His first marriage, once filled with promise, was crumbling. Long hours on set, the relentless pressure to perform, and a dependence on anxiety medication made the home front a battlefield. For his daughter Karen, the contrast was striking. At home, The father who made the nation laugh was often silent, withdrawn, and exhausted. The very energy that created joy for millions was draining the man himself. Fame had brought him accolades, but it hadn't healed the wounds that had haunted him since childhood. Don Knotts taught us that even the brightest laughter can come from the darkest places. To the world, he was the bumbling deputy who brought joy into millions of homes. To his family, he was a man fighting silent battles with humor as his shield. Even in death, he made people laugh. That, perhaps, is the truest measure of his gift. Do you remember laughing at Barney Fife's nervous antics? Share your memories in the comments, and if this story touched you, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more untold stories of the stars you thought you knew. If you enjoyed this story, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It really makes us smile. And if you're hungry for more fascinating tales, check out the 2 videos right below. You might just discover your next favorite story.